Just when fans thought the Diddy scandals couldn't get any darker, Terrence Howard drops a bombshell that shakes the entire industry to its core. Secret names, hidden deals, and a list no one was ever meant to see. And now, with 50 Cent's old warnings resurfacing, fans are asking one terrifying question. Was he right all along? The industry didn't see it coming. The moment Terrence stepped into that dimly lit podcast studio, the tension was already thick in the air. His jaw was tight, his eyes distant, like a man about to finally unload a secret he'd been carrying for years. At first, he tried to laugh it off, shifting in his chair, dodging the host's early questions with half answers and nervous smiles. But then the conversation shifted. The name Diddy dropped into the room like a live grenade. The smile disappeared. Terrence leaned forward and said quietly, "There are things people don't know, and some things people were never supposed to find out." What followed was not a clean confession. It was messy, scattered, emotional. Terrence spoke in fragments at first, circling the truth like he was afraid of what would happen if he said it out loud. He described private rooms at exclusive parties, whispered phone calls at 3 a.m., and a list that was always kept close but never shown in full. It wasn't just business, he said, voice cracking. It was personal, it was intimate, and it involved people you'd never expect. Behind the scenes, producers exchanged nervous looks. The host froze for a split second before pushing forward, asking the question everyone at home was already screaming at their screen. "Are you saying there was a real list? A secret relationship list?" Terrence hesitated. The silence felt endless. And then, finally, he nodded. Yes. And some of those names would shock the world. Within minutes, clips from the interview exploded across social media. Fans were stunned. Comment sections lit up with disbelief, outrage, and wild theories. Some called it a publicity stunt. Others swore they had known all along. But one name kept trending alongside Terrence's: 50 Cent. Old interviews resurfaced instantly, where he had warned half joking, half serious that the industry was full of secrets nobody was ready to hear. Suddenly, those old warnings didn't sound so funny anymore. Inside the inner circle, panic set in. Phones started ringing non-stop. Assistants scrambled. Managers demanded emergency meetings. One source claimed that when word reached Diddy's camp, the room went completely silent. No one knew how much Terrence was actually willing to reveal, and worse, how much proof he might have. This could destroy everything, one insider whispered. Not just reputations, entire empires. Meanwhile, Terrence's family was caught in the storm. His phone filled with missed calls from relatives begging him to stop talking. His sister reportedly told him, "You're playing with fire. These people don't fight fair." Friends who once praised his honesty, now worried for his safety. Even fans were split, torn between praising him as a truth-teller and fearing he had crossed an invisible line. The next twist came just hours later. 50 Cent posted a cryptic message on social media. No names, no direct accusations, just a short sentence that sent chills through the internet. "Told y'all years ago. Now watch how fast they move." Fans went wild. Was this confirmation? A warning? A threat? Emotions ran high as speculation turned into digital chaos. Reaction videos flooded YouTube. Conspiracy threads multiplied by the minute. Then, the alleged list itself became the center of the storm. Rumors claimed it wasn't a typical contact list, but a coded ledger of secret encounters, favors, and deeply personal relationships that crossed lines no one was supposed to cross. Some names were described as powerful, others as vulnerable, and a few, according to leaks, were completely unexpected family-linked connections that made even hardened industry veterans uncomfortable. Terrence, shaken by the backlash, went silent for nearly 2 days. Fans noticed immediately. The man who had just ignited the biggest firestorm in years had vanished from public view. Some said he was hiding, others claimed he was being silenced. When he finally resurfaced through a brief voice note sent to a close friend, his tone was different. No bravado, no theatrical flair, just exhaustion. "I didn't think it would go this far," he admitted. "But once you tell part of the truth, the rest starts demanding to be heard." Behind closed doors, alliances were already shifting. People who once stood shoulder to shoulder began distancing themselves. Old friendships cracked under the weight of suspicion. One unnamed celebrity was reportedly confronted by their own partner after being loosely connected to the rumors. The argument ended with slammed doors and lawyers on speed dial. Another reportedly canceled multiple public appearances out of sudden illness, though insiders claimed it was pure fear. And still, the biggest question remained unanswered. Would Terrence actually name names? Or was the shock itself the weapon? As the days passed, The pressure mounted. Media outlets teased exclusive parts and unreleased footage. Fans dissected every frame of Terrence's original interview, searching for hidden clues in his pauses, in the way his eyes shifted when certain topics came up. "He knows more," became the common refrain. So much more. Then came the night everything escalated again. Terrence went live unexpectedly, his face shadowed, his voice low. "People are trying to scare me into silence," he said, "but I didn't start this. I only reacted to years of lies." He hinted that the list wasn't even the most dangerous part of what he knew. "The list is just the surface," he warned. "What's underneath? That's what they're really afraid of." The internet exploded all over again. Fans were shocked. Emotions ran high. Some begged him to expose everything. Others pleaded with him to protect himself and his family. Even strangers sent him messages of support, fear, and encouragement. The divide grew deeper with each passing hour, and somewhere in the background of it all, 50 Cent remained quiet, watching, waiting, letting the world unravel exactly the way he once predicted. The morning after that late-night live, the atmosphere around Terrence Howard changed completely. Security was suddenly doubled outside his home. Neighbors whispered about unmarked cars parked down the block. His inner circle shrank overnight as trust began to feel like a dangerous luxury. Inside the house, the mood was heavy. Coffee sat untouched on the counter as his sister paced the floor. Phone pressed to her ear, arguing in hushed tones with someone on the other end. "They're not just mad," she warned him after hanging up. "They're scared, and scared people get reckless." Across the country, inside a glass-walled boardroom where power deals were usually made in quiet confidence, panic was spreading through the camp of the mogul fans associate with the name. Diddy. Lawyers shuffled in and out carrying thick folders. Phones buzzed nonstop. One executive reportedly slammed his fist on the table and shouted, "We should have shut this down the moment his mouth opened." Another shot back, "And make it look like we're hiding something." That's exactly what he wants. Emotions ran high as every move felt like a trap. Meanwhile, the shadow of 50 Cent loomed over the chaos without him saying a single new word. Fans replayed his old interviews, paused on every smirk, every sarcastic laugh. Reaction channels dissected his past warnings like they were prophecy. "He tried to tell us," one viral clip declared. Nobody wanted to listen. By midday, the rumors had taken on a life of their own. Anonymous accounts began claiming they had seen parts of the so-called list years ago. One said it was kept on an encrypted device that only a few trusted people ever accessed. Another claimed it was split into multiple copies, hidden like insurance policies. No proof surfaced, but the stories multiplied faster than anyone could contain them. Fans were shocked by how detailed the claims had become, and yet how impossibly secretive the evidence remained. Inside his living room, Terrence watched the chaos unfold on muted television screens. News anchors spoke in careful language, always using words like alleged and unverified, but the damage was already done. His phone buzzed again. A former friend, someone who had once sworn loyalty, sent a message that chilled him. "You don't know what you've stepped into. Walk it back while you still can." Terrence stared at the screen for a long moment before tossing the phone onto the couch. "It's too late for that," he muttered. That evening, a new voice entered the storm. A woman with ties to elite Hollywood circles posted a vague but loaded statement online. "Some of us have been living with these secrets for years. Watching a man finally speak is both terrifying and freeing." Within minutes, her post was trending. Fans flooded her page with questions, begging for hints, for confirmation, for anything. She never replied again. But the message alone was enough to push the frenzy to another level. Behind the scenes, relationships began to fracture. One famous couple reportedly erupted into a brutal argument after a name similar to the partners surfaced in speculation. Sources claimed accusations flew across a marble-floored penthouse, ending with one of them storming out into the night. "How could you lie to me for all these years?" The echo of that question, insiders said, summed up what was happening across the entire industry. Trust was collapsing under the weight of rumor. The next twist came when a former bodyguard, long retired, agreed to speak anonymously to an online outlet. His words were cautious but loaded. "There were rooms I stood outside of," he said, "meetings that weren't on any schedule. And sometimes I saw the same faces coming and going when they weren't supposed to be anywhere near each other." When asked about a list, he paused before answering, "I never saw it with my own eyes, but I heard people argue over it like their lives depended on it." Those words sent another shockwave through an already fractured public. Fans were shocked that someone from the inside would even hint at such things. Conspiracy theories spiraled out of control. Some believed the list was tied to blackmail. Others swore it was about control over careers. A few darker voices whispered that it was about fear, pure and simple. Terrence's family felt the pressure most intensely. His mother reportedly begged him in tears to stop all communication with the media. "I already lost too much in this industry," she told him, her voice breaking. "I can't lose you too." His brother, on the other hand, urged him to keep going. "If you run now, they win," he said firmly. The family was left divided, torn between survival and truth. Late that night, Terrence received a message from an unknown number. No words, just a photograph attached. It was grainy, taken from a distance, showing the front of his house earlier that day. The implication was crystal clear. "You're being watched." Fear surged through him, quickly followed by anger. He forwarded the image to his security team without a word, jaw clenched tight. As news of the possible intimidation leaked through insiders, public sympathy for him grew. Fans who once doubted his motives now rallied behind him online. "This is bigger than gossip," one trending post read. "This is about power and silence." Millions agreed. Hashtags calling for transparency and protection surged overnight. Then came another unexpected turn. A leaked voicemail, allegedly from someone connected to the inner circle of the mogul, began circulating in private forums. The voice was distorted, but the message was chilling. "If that list ever becomes public, it won't just ruin names, it'll burn down legacies." Within hours, the clip reached mainstream platforms. Experts argued over its authenticity, but its impact was undeniable. Fear spread faster than any confirmation could. In the middle of this rising storm, Terrence made a quiet move that stunned everyone. He walked into a private meeting with federal investigators. The public didn't learn about it until a day later, when sources confirmed that he had provided information relevant to an ongoing inquiry. No details were released, but the implication was explosive. If law enforcement was now officially involved, this was no longer just internet drama. Panic inside powerful circles exploded into full-blown crisis mode. Emergency calls were placed. Crisis managers were hired. Old digital trails were suddenly wiped clean. Insiders described a frantic effort to erase years of questionable records in a matter of hours. But as one source put it, "You can't delete what too many people already know." Fans watched every development like a live thriller. Emotions ran high as each update felt more dangerous than the last. Some urged Terrence to disappear for his own safety. Others accused him of turning on people who once gave him opportunities. The comment wars were vicious, a digital battlefield where loyalty and suspicion clashed non-stop. And through it all, the most haunting detail remained that mysterious list. No one could prove it existed. No one could prove it didn't. Yet its shadow hung over every rumor, every denial, every emergency meeting. People weren't just afraid of being named. They were afraid of what being named truly meant. By the end of that week, one truth was undeniable. Whatever had started as a shocking podcast confession had now turned into a full-scale industry crisis. Friendships were breaking. Families were arguing. Empires were trembling. And Terrence, standing at the center of it all, looked more isolated than ever. And still, the question burned hotter with each passing day. Would the world ever see that list? Or was the threat of it alone powerful enough to tear everything apart? By the time the news of that private meeting with investigators became public, the mood across the entire industry shifted from shock to outright fear. Doors that once opened with a simple phone call were suddenly slammed shut. Old alliances were quietly severed overnight. Insiders described a strange, unnatural calm settling over certain power circles. The kind of calm that only appears right before a storm breaks. Inside his home, Terrence sat alone in the dark, the glow of his phone lighting up his tired face as message after message poured in. Some were supportive. Others were furious. A few were openly threatening. One longtime collaborator sent a short, bitter sentence that cut deeper than any anonymous message ever could. "You just burned every bridge you ever built." Terrence read it twice, then locked his phone and leaned back, staring at the ceiling. "Maybe those bridges were built on lies," he whispered. Meanwhile, the mogul at the center of the storm made his first public move. Through his legal team, he issued a carefully worded statement denying all allegations, calling the rumors reckless, defamatory, and rooted in fantasy. But the statement didn't calm the chaos. Instead, it fueled it. Fans dissected every line, every comma, searching for hidden meaning. Why deny the rumors but never mention the list? Became the trending question of the hour. Silence on that single point only made suspicion grow. The rapper who had warned the world years earlier broke his quiet not with words, but with a laugh. During a live stream that night, he smiled, shook his head slowly, and said only one thing: "Funny how the truth always shows up late to the party." The stream ended seconds later, but the damage was done. Fans were shocked at how casually he spoke, as if none of this surprised him at all. Some took it as confirmation, others took it as cold indifference. Either way, the temperature of the scandal rose even higher. Behind the scenes, Terrence's legal team pushed him to prepare for the worst. They warned him that once powerful people feel cornered, they often stop playing by any rules at all. This is the stage where character attacks become weapons, one lawyer told him. Expect your past to be dragged back out into the light, twisted into something ugly. Terrence nodded, already anticipating what was coming. I've lived with worse monsters than headlines, he replied quietly. Their warning proved prophetic. Within hours, old controversies involving Terrence resurfaced online, suddenly trending with renewed ferocity. Clips were reposted. Out-of-context quotes were weaponized. Strangers debated his character like prosecutors building a case. Some accused him of seeking attention. Others claimed he was trying to distract from his own past mistakes. The internet moved fast, ruthless, and unforgiving. Yet even amid the attacks, a strange thing happened. More people started believing him. A former industry publicist, retired for years, dropped another cryptic comment that sent chills through social media. There were always two lists, she wrote. The one everyone whispered about, and the one nobody ever dared to name. She offered no explanation and quickly deleted the post, but screenshots spread like wildfire. Fans were shocked by the implication. Two lists meant deeper layers of secrecy, deeper layers of control. Inside Terrence's circle, paranoia took root. Every conversation felt monitored. Every knock at the door triggered alarms. He stopped trusting even familiar faces without confirmation from security. One night, as he paced the living room, his brother asked him the question that had been haunting everyone. Are you absolutely sure you're ready for what comes next if you keep going? Terrence didn't answer immediately. After a long silence, he said, no, but I'm even less ready to live with what happens if I stop. The next dramatic twist came when a reality star, once rumored to be close to the mogul's inner circle, was spotted leaving a courthouse through a side entrance. Paparazzi captured her in tears, shielding her face as her lawyer guided her into a waiting car. Officially, no one confirmed why she was there. Unofficially, insiders whispered that she had been subpoenaed. Her sudden legal involvement added fuel to theories that the investigation was broader than anyone had imagined. Fan reactions swung wildly between outrage and grief. Some felt betrayed, claiming their idols had built careers on carefully guarded illusions. Others defended their favorites with near-religious devotion, calling the accusations nothing more than a coordinated smear campaign. Emotions ran high in comment sections where friendships ended over conflicting opinions. For many, this was no longer just celebrity drama. It felt personal. Another blow landed when an alleged former assistant broke down during a late-night interview on an independent channel. Her hands trembled as she spoke, voice cracking under the weight of years of silence. People think it's about money, she said. It's not. It's about power. Who controls who? Who owes who? When asked directly about the list, she swallowed hard. I saw names written down, she admitted. I didn't recognize all of them, but I recognized enough to know it was dangerous. Her interview went viral within minutes. Terrence watched that interview in silence, tears quietly slipping down his face. His sister sat beside him, gripping his arm. This doesn't end well for anyone, she whispered. He shook his head slowly. It already didn't end well, he replied. It just took years for the ending to start. Pressure mounted from every direction. Old friends begged him to step back. New supporters urged him forward. Even strangers sent messages warning him to leave the country. One chilling note read, "History doesn't favor whistleblowers in this business." Terrence deleted it without replying but couldn't shake the words from his mind. As the scandal deepened, production companies began quietly cutting ties with anyone even faintly connected to the rumors. Projects were halted mid-development. Brand deals were suspended pending investigation. Careers that took decades to build hung in the balance of unproven yet devastating allegations. The family was left divided not only by belief, but by survival. Some wanted distance to protect themselves. Others felt morally bound to stand with the truth, no matter the cost. In the shadows of all this public chaos, the most dangerous game was happening quietly. Sources claimed that back-channel negotiations were underway. Offers were allegedly being made for silence. Favors hinted at. Old debts promised to be erased. Whether Terrence was approached directly was never confirmed, but one thing was certain. The stakes had become enormous. And then, just when it seemed like the storm had reached its peak, another twist detonated across the entire media landscape. A partial document leaked online, heavily redacted, names blacked out, dates blurred, but the title at the top was clear enough to make hearts race. Private Association's ledger. Within minutes, it was removed from every major platform. But not before thousands of users had downloaded and reposted fragments. The existence of that document alone changed everything. It no longer mattered whether the full list was real. Something was real enough to frighten powerful people into action. Fans were shocked. Emotions ran high. The internet erupted like never before. Everyone demanded answers that no one seemed willing or able to give. As another sleepless night settled over the city, Terrence stood by his window watching flashing lights from distant traffic. His phone buzzed again with a new message from an unknown number. This time, it contained only 3 words. "We know everything." His breath caught in his chest. And in that moment, one terrifying thought took hold. The list was no longer just a rumor. It was a weapon. As the fallout continued to ripple through the industry, one truth became impossible to ignore. Nothing would ever be the same again. Reputations lay bruised, alliances shattered, and the illusion of untouchable power had been cracked wide open. Terrence stood at the center of it all, isolated but unbroken, while the shadow of that mysterious list loomed larger with every passing day. Some secrets had already escaped, others remained buried. For now, but fans knew one thing for certain. Once the door to the truth was opened, it could never fully be closed again. Now it's your turn. What do you think is really on that list? Do you believe everything Terrence revealed, or is there even more still hidden in the dark? If you want to stay ahead of every shocking twist, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop your theories in the comments below. Your voice matters in this unfolding drama.